We filled first shelf in this room, and now we can see that our surface of casing soil is quite uniform. We have good structure of casing soil. Casing soil is wet, and caking mixed in a casing soil very good. There are quite a lot of caking. You can see that we have enough caking in a casing soil, and it will give us quite wide shelves and good quality of mushrooms. Now when we filled compost, we know temperature, and if compost have good temperature, we can start watering straight after we finished filling. If we have quite cold compost, we will need to wait until compost will heat up and then start watering. When you start watering depends also from your experience, and you when you grow mushrooms, when you have stable supply of compost, you know what to expect from your compost. If you have supplements in the compost, you know that compost will heat up faster. If your compost is with supplements, and you will wait until 22 degrees, you can get the 26, 27 degree in the compost easily. So you know that when you have supplements, you can start to water earlier than when your compost reaches 22 degrees. If you get compost that's very cold, sometimes it's happened during the winter, even can be frozen, you can wait for even 3 days to let compost heat up. But it's not good to have 3 days without watering at all, because you can dry out your casing soil. In this situation, it's recommended to put some water, but very small amount, to not reach the compost. Only water casing soil. And you should keep casing soil wet, and at the same time don't put water to the cold compost, because if cold compost get water, you can damage your mycelium, and it will not recover as fast as we need it. We filled this room, and today we will start watering. Yesterday compost was too cold to be watered, but because this compost was 2 days in a truck, it started to recover quite fast, and now we see that mycelium already start to appear on surface, and because of this transportation for 2 days, we will have less time to water this compost. And actually today will be the main day for watering, and today we should put as much water as possible to this compost, because tomorrow we will have much more mycelium in the compost, and it will accept water much harder. We see that our compost from yesterday increased temperature to 23.5 degree. Yesterday it was 20 degree. Air temperature we have 19 degrees, and humidity 97%. So with this temperature 24, it's our targeted temperature, and now computer maintains this temperature using air temperature, maintain compost temperature. And with this compost temperature we can start watering today, and we can water heavily. Now we will start watering this shelf. Oops. Oops. Here we have automatic watering with nozzles, and you can see how it goes. This type of watering called under shelf watering. here on this farm it's not really automatic, it's switched on manually, but the same setup can be used for automatic watering by schedule. You can see it looks like small drops. Those shelf now was watered with only 1 liter per square meter. Okay, we started watering in this room. Now only 2 liters were added to this compost, and today we are going to add around 14 liters, but we will look to the compost how it takes water. You can see that in this room we cleaned our floors, everything clean, and we did it this cleaning before we start watering, obviously. So this 2 liters that we already watered shelves is maybe enough only for casing soil, but they didn't go to compost, and we will now continue to water at the same time watching structure of casing soil and watching how compost take this water. Now Yuri will check how much water went to casing soil and to the compost, and he will try to check it because compost spent 2 days in a truck, and yesterday when it was filled, and we have very narrow period when we can put water inside the compost. So now Yuri will check moisture in the compost. Now you can see that casing soil is wet and water went through casing soil and touched compost. If we look to the compost, we can see that compost is still dry as it was, and water didn't go inside the compost, and we will continue watering to let water to go inside the compost layer. Looking to this compost, we can see that this compost mycelium start to grow on in this side this compost, and tomorrow mycelium will occupy compost much more, and we will not be able to put a lot of water to this compost. This is why we will try to put as much as possible water today. For next 2-3 watering, we will keep breaks between waterings for half an hour, and we know that the compost is dry, so we will not check during next 3 watering, but then we will start to check compost and how much water in it. Each watering we should put around 2 liters by each watering, so in 3 waterings we will add 6 liters of water. We should watch nozzles in these rooms where we have those nozzles to avoid situation like this when nozzle is dripping, because under this nozzle we will have overwatered patch, and it will destroy mushrooms in area underneath this nozzle. So we should check all nozzles and avoid this situation. We often asked about blueprint about watering, and as Yuri explained, there is no blueprint for watering. You cannot follow a specific amount of water and number of waterings when you work with mushrooms. You have to check constantly how your mycelium is developed. For phase 3 compost, we have only 2 days after my compost acquired temperature that we can water. We have 2 days until compost will be grown with mycelium when we can put water inside the compost. And this will be today and tomorrow, here that we can put as much water as possible to this compost. Next couple of days we will also water, but those watering will be done mainly for keeping casing soil wet and control mycelium inside the casing soil. To add water to compost we have only 2 days, and we will look to the compost to assess how much water it has and how much water we can add more during those days. So there is no blueprint for watering of the compost. For phase 2 compost, watering will be quite different. Here on the farm we have phase 3 compost, so we just explained how you should behave when you working with phase 2 compost. On phase 2 compost you shouldn't water on the first day. You should give compost time to recover after ruffling of compost phase 2. After you put casing soil, you have to give compost a day to recover, and only after this you should water, and you water much lighter than we do it on a phase 3. Actually you mainly watering not a compost but casing soil, and you should watch closely to not have water between casing soil and compost on this interface between casing and compost. If you will let water to stay between compost and casing, this will lead to problems with first flash and with second flash, because this layer will be this layer will block mycelium from proper growth. So on phase 2 you watching how much water you have in a casing, and very small amount of water goes to the compost. Additional thing about phase 2 compost. When we working with phase 2 compost, you incubate compost on your shelf in a blocks, or you make a shelf and cover it with film or with paper and incubate compost on the shelf. But before you apply casing, you should ruffle the compost. You should ruffle the compost on a maximum depth in order to make it fluffy, and you should give another day for mycelium to recover after this ruffling procedure. The only situation when you don't ruffle, it's when you have a lot of problems with your compost. You see some signs of the trichoderma or gypsum mold or something like this, and in this situation, to avoid spreading disease, you can avoid ruffling. But if your compost looks fine, if you have good mycelium on phase 2, you ruffle the compost before you apply casing soil, and then only after another day to give compost to recover, you start watering casing soil. Especially for you, we water it this part of the shelf in order to wash away casing soil, and you can see, come closer, you can see here casing soil is like closed, it's like dirt, it's really wet, all pores are closed, and in this part of the shelf mycelium cannot grow, and if your casing started to be like this, like mud, the only solution for this is to ruffle casing soil after mycelium grows. You should ruffle, you will lose some yield, but this is the only way. The best thing is avoid to washing away your casing soil, and not do like this. Here you can see casing soil has good structure and everything fine with this. Here it only 9 liters watered until now. Here we put it more than 30 liters to this place. Here, here we put already 9 liters of water in this compost, phase 3 compost, and let's check what's going on now. So first I will check casing soil, and you can see that casing is wet, shiny, and soak it with water. But compost still dry. Good watered compost, when I squeeze it, I should see water between my fingers. Now it's dry. And we have to check deeper, the same in the middle. Plus minus the same in the bottom. Compost is still dry. Closer to bottom, maybe you can see some water near the film, but it will be soaked back to compost. So we should add more water, so we continue watering. And by initial plan, today we will put around 15 liters of water in to this compost, and tomorrow morning we will see how we continue. Today we have second day after filling, so we filled day before yesterday. Now our compost became 26 degree. We already put 16 liters of water in it yesterday, and today we continue watering. We can see mycelium here start to occupy straw, and we now have only 5-6 hours to put as much water as possible before compost fully grown with mycelium. Now Yuri will dig in a compost encasing and check how much moisture, how much water we have in the compost.
Покровка блестит. У нас
So our casing is shiny, and we see that casing is overgrown with mycelium, but compost is still dry, and we should put a lot of water, much more water to the compost.
вот как шипит.
But I should dig deeper to the very bottom and check what we have there.
Тут немножко влажнее.
And above the film, on the bottom, compost more wet.
Так надо достичь на всю глубину.
We can see water between his fingers, and we should achieve the same situation on all depths of compost. And we have very, very narrow period of time to put enough water. We have 5-6 hours, because this compost was in a way for two days, so we have shorter time than normally to put water. Here we have room that we filled day before yesterday, and grower already put here 25 liters of water by watering by 2 liters per go, with pauses between watering. During the night he gave to compost to recover, and today he continued watering, and now we have 25 liters of water in this compost. Now Yuri will dig compost and check what situation is and how much water we should add to the compost. So we see top layer of the compost is quite humid, there is enough of water.
А?
Now we're going to check the compost in the middle of the layer, and it's here it's not enough water. We can add more. On the bottom, compost more wet, but still can take it will take this water that it have, and we still can add a little bit more water. As a result of our checks, we can see that our compost quite good watered, but we will continue our watering because we can put more water. But we can see that mycelium is already overgrown compost, and tomorrow it will be white, and we will water tomorrow only casing soil. So today is the last time that we can add water to the compost, and we will do this. And on this farm, because compost was 2 days in a row, we had 1 day less than you would normally have receiving compost from nearest compost yard without this delay in a way. We can see that our casing now maintain its structure. We have quite good casing soil here, but if you see the dilemma between keeping structure of casing soil and watering the compost, what you can do? First, to maintain structure of casing soil, you can lower an amount of water that you give in one go. You can go from 2 liters to 1 liters at one watering. But even in this, if in this situation your casing lose its structure, you will have to ruffle, but not now, of course, after you finish your watering and your mycelium recover in a casing. 2 days went since we filled this room. We filled it the day before yesterday, and now we will check how mycelium grows in a casing soil. Yuri will dig casing and show you how mycelium grows. So you can see here that mycelium good grew in a caking and in a compost, but it's still only in the bottom layers of casing soil, and most of casing soil now still without mycelium. This is because we heavily watering this casing soil, and our priority now is to make sure that we have enough water in our compost, but our casing still not overgrown with mycelium. 84 hours went since we filled this room. Now we have compost temperature less than 25 degrees, air temperature 90 degrees, and this is what we want for this stage. We're watering heavily now, and we keep watering today. Tomorrow we will start water only casing soil to not because our compost will not accept water as it can do today. On this stage, room was filled day before yesterday. Our mycelium still only in the bottom layer of casing soil. This is why we don't care about CO2 levels in this room. And we also don't really care about humidity levels. Our humidity is high just because we're watering constantly, and humidity levels now here 97, 100%, and we just should make sure that we switched off dehumidification. We don't need it now, so our humidity is high, and we don't care about CO2 levels until our mycelium deep under casing soil. So this gives us opportunity to use fresh air for cooling the room. If outside we have cold weather, we can easily use cold weather, cold air to cool down this room instead using chiller and cool down artificially. Today is third day of watering, compost temperature 24 degree, air 17.9. We continue watering, so 100% humidity. In this room we have fourth day after filling. We filled on Tuesday, today is Friday. Third day of watering. Yesterday we showed you this room, and yesterday we told that it was last day to water compost. And today we continue watering, but we water only casing soil. We already watered 38 liters of water per square meter, and today we will continue with couple of liters by 1 liter only for casing soil. Now we will check how mycelium grows to casing soil. So you can see that mycelium grows in casing soil quite good. Caking is fluffy with mycelium, and mycelium grow on the surface of casing clumps, and our casing is wet and shiny. And it's very important to have casing wet, because if it's dry, mycelium would grow inside, and it would be not good. And now we will check how much water we have in a compost, what is the moisture of the compost. You can see that on this third day of watering, now we will check compost moisture. You can see that this is the top layer of the compost, it is wet. You can see water if we squeeze the bunch of compost. Now we will check compost from the middle of the bed. And here also we have quite a lot of water, and this is what we actually want. It should be mentioned that this is phase 3 compost. For phase 2 it's not possible to water as heavily. Phase 2 compost will not take as much water. If here you can see that until we squeeze compost, we see white mycelium on the surface. Of course, when we squeeze, it goes red. Yuri said that we was able to put as much water because we see that our compost is good, and we are quite sure in our compost. We see good mycelium development. Our casing soil don't wash away. And this gives us an ability to put quite a lot of water. If you are not sure in your compost, if your mycelium grows not as good, if you see some problems, if your casing washing away, you should water much less, and it's better to be on a safe side and water less, but to be quite sure about results. Now we have compost temperature 24, in air we have 90 degrees, and we switched off fresh air. Our mycelium went to the middle of casing layer, overgrown half of casing layer, and now it's become danger to add fresh air to the room because we can create our pins too earlier. Now our humidity should be high. It's high anyway because of watering. Our CO2, the bigger the better, and this is what we actually need now. So we don't let fresh air to this room, or a very small limited amount.